Hi, Aaron. Really nice to have you on Key to You with Shruthi Prakash. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
My pleasure. I've been looking forward to this. So,
Thank you. And I do want to tell a little bit about Aaron. Aaron is, am I pronouncing your name right? Just want
Aaron,
to
yep,
Aaron. Okay.
Aaron, yep.
Aaron is transforming US healthcare by building what the system actually needs. And he's the trusted advisor and to all the health plans, VCs, and founder as well, VCs, founders. So you
Mhm.
are a legendary in my view because I've been watching you every other day when I got every article of yours makes so much sense because you need to step back, you need to understand the data from a customer perspective. And your goal is to make it simple, make it real,
Mhm.
and make it meaningful. So thank you for doing what you're doing. And
Oh, my pleasure.
so I'll have more to write about you when we release it, but I just wanted to make sure that I have a little bit about you. So for the audience, the main thing I do want to talk about today is you are one of the key trusted advisor and the partner for the health plan. And I
Mhm.
want to understand what is the single most important trait of a trusted advisor? And why does it matter more than a technical expertise in winning and keeping clients? Because people say technical technology. So
Mhm.
help us understand.
Yeah, so happy to. So maybe I'll give you kind of a little bit of background on me because I think that'll help kind of set the stage for that.
Thank you.
So yeah, I always joke that I never go so far as to say that my background is interesting, but it is somewhat unique. So I'm a physician. So I actually was a practicing radiologist. I left practice about 11 years ago, and over the course of the past decade, I've had the opportunity to work in kind of large consulting firms. I've had the opportunity to work as an executive within health plans,
Yeah.
having multiple different roles. I've then had the opportunity to lead several different startup organizations where I actually was kind of selling into and partnering with health plans. And then, actually earlier this year, I started my own consultancy because I realized that I had this somewhat unique perspective where
Mhm.
I've seen the industry from multiple different angles.
Right.
And while it's difficult to say that that's something that can be replicable, for me, I think what that's actually allowed me to do is to actually empathize with stakeholders across the industry.
Right.
Because when having had the opportunity to sit in multiple different seats
Hmm.
and know what those individuals are dealing with, when I can sit down and have a conversation with them about trying to help them, be an advisor to them, think through the problems that they're facing, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that just through the lens of how Aaron thinks. I'm really trying to put myself into their shoes and understand the challenges that they're going to face when it comes to taking some of the recommendations or concepts that I'm guiding them on. What's it going to take to actually help enable their teams to be successful? Because no one person can do things on their own. So
Yeah.
going back to your initial
Totally.
question, I really would say that the one thing that I encourage anybody to do when you're trying to advise somebody, whether it's someone on your team that you're mentoring, whether it's
Yeah.
a teammate,
Hmm.
empathy is really important. So
Tell
putting
me about
yourself in that other person's
it.
shoes, yeah.
Yeah. And I do remember, Aaron, just going back to the you at one point you were a senior vice president within Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan,
It
and
was, yeah.
and I do work in the same company even today. But then I did have an opportunity to have a discussion with you, and you did allow me to come in. And doesn't matter the title because I always had in my mind title matters for people to talk to you, but no, it's not. So you were there, you were sitting down and making me understand what is HCV really, what their vision is, where are we getting, what's the member centric approach needs to be for the care delivery and everything. So
Mhm.
it was a very amazing discussion. I carried along with me. I just want
Mhm.
that to me is an empathy. The empathy is so important and recognizing the value of everybody who brings to the, I mean, everyone has some value to bring to the table, and you recognize that, and that to
Well,
me
if
is a great trait.
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. And I think you just hit on something that I think is really important as well. And, you
Hmm.
know, I guess I was fortunate to not have kind of my career didn't go up, wasn't through coming up through corporate, business. As a physician, you're just kind of doing your things and you're kind of
Right.
part of a team. And
Yeah.
what I realize is like, I don't. in my head, I don't think in terms of hierarchies. I
Yeah.
view it as we're all part of a team. We're all
Right.
trying to get things done. We
Yeah.
all have different roles on that team.
Yeah.
Um, and as I've got into organizations and I had the opportunity to work with teams and lead teams, you know,
Hmm.
the further I've had the opportunity to move up in my career, not in terms of just title, but just in terms of like having more responsibility.
I like the way you say
What
it.
I yeah, what I the way that I always talk to my teams and the way I think about my responsibility is
Hmm.
there's really three things: set direction,
Yeah.
um, eliminate barriers, and
Right.
then own the decisions. So, because what that means is like that way my team doesn't feel like it's on them, it's my
Hmm.
responsibility. And,
Hmm.
I'm going to help you know what you got to do. I'm
Exactly.
going to eliminate anything that's going to get in your way so I can help
Hmm.
prioritize. So when there's
Yeah.
tough decisions to be made. And if
Hmm.
something bad happens, then I'm going to own that. I'm not going to blame somebody else. And I think that's behavior that, any leader, it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Right.
If people can kind of take those things that, some of my lessons learned, that will take you really far. And what I've had the opportunity to learn from really good leaders that
Yeah.
have role modeled those behaviors to me. And I can
Hmm.
tell you, those are the leaders that I would run through a brick wall for because I
Right.
know they've got my back.
Right.
And that's the behavior that I've always tried to emulate for the other people that I work with.
I am so glad you said that because I think those are the traits that every leader needs to have, especially today in the AI world.
Mhm.
It's not AI that you're working with, it's a human still. It's those emotions still. It's that belief system. You come from a different religion, come from a different background. You still need to make sure that you're able to trust that leader. And the trust comes from how you emulate those characteristics and how you make the team member feel better and care
Absolutely.
and stay in a compass. Thank you so much for saying that. So, can you share a specific story where you or any other advisor that you are aware of, but I just want to hear from you, especially, turned a transactional client relationship into a trusted partnership?
Hmm. That's a great question. I for me, it's funny because I look at it's I think even from seeing me on this call, similar to you,
Yeah.
I have a really big smile, and when I meet people, I really don't go into any relationship thinking about
Right.
it as a transactional.
Right.
Um, I view it as I want to add value to whatever I'm doing. So if I'm engaging someone, I kind of welcome them into my fold. How can I help you? And I mean that in terms of business relationships and kind of people relationships.
Right.
So I can't necessarily say that I had a specific example where I turned a transactional relationship
Makes
into
sense.
something.
Yeah.
But I think what I can say is people only have so much time, capacity, energy to do anything.
Yeah.
And it's difficult when you're in kind of a corporate world and you've got jobs to do. You don't necessarily get to pick and choose what you get to do. But
Agree.
when you go into anything, it's approaching it with the attitude of how do I not view this as a transactional relationship? How
Right.
do I view this as something? If it's part of my job, well, then let's make it the best part of my job. How do I actually turn this into something that's meaningful? Because look, we all spend more time working
Yeah.
than unfortunately we do, with our families, doing the things we want to do. So it's a really miserable existence if you don't try to make those experiences better.
I agree.
Um, I'm just trying to think if there's anything specifically that I can say. So what I will say is, and part of
Hmm.
the way now that I'm in a kind of run an advisory consulting business,
Yeah.
um, I am very clear when I start talking with a potential new client or customer about
Hmm.
how I work and what I do,
Right.
because I want to set expectations up front.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to say, but I really need you to do this if that's not something that I either feel I can do or should be doing.
Right.
So, and that means that sometimes I just have to turn away clients up
Yeah.
front. But
Yeah.
in my experience, by having those honest conversations early on,
Yeah.
you establish that expectation up front, which is why I'm really
Right.
fortunate to call so many of my clients friends, and
I
they're
like that.
people that I know
Yeah.
I can call on and that they can
Yeah.
call on me. So,
That is so good. I want to share one example. What stuck with me, one more example about
yeah.
you. Um, I can't remember which meeting, Aaron, but there was a meeting where you were letting people know, we all know, if you really want to understand and help, and you need to go back to those areas. I mean, I remember you talking about go to the rural areas, sit down with them, see how they're doing things, understand what they're doing. Then you will know what the real problem is before you come back and say, here is the solution and here is the technology that can help with the solution.
100%.
So that stuck with me so strong. Don't quickly jump and say, hey, I have these brighter, the shining technologies coming in. Understand the business and go to that place where you can understand, and you said that, and it'll always ring
Uh,
the bell.
well, I'm glad that holds true. And it's I've had the opportunity both while I was at Blue Cross of Michigan and
Yeah.
then in some of the organizations that I've been since to work with really talented product people.
Mm-hmm.
And the most talented product people aren't starting with a solution, they're starting with understanding the problem.
Yeah.
And then when you understand the problem, then you build a solution to address the problem. Now,
Correct.
that's not to say that like look it's like you go back to the story they say about Henry Ford. If you went to people and asked them what they wanted, they said, "I want a faster horse." So there's always a world where you need to be
Yeah.
thinking beyond what people want. But at the
Correct.
end of the day, understanding what is it that they're struggling with. And
Yeah.
then you can start to think outside of the box in terms of how do I address that? And that is where you could say, wow, if there was a technology that could actually allow us to do this better, faster, cheaper, more efficiently, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is, then you can start to think about how to bring that to bear.
Right.
So I'm glad that stuck with you, and it really does hold true. And I'll,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I have the opportunity to work with a lot of really innovative startups.
Yeah.
But what I kind of have to sometimes help them understand is you don't you don't want to be selling to someone where you're a solution looking for a problem. Like
I
um,
just saw the article.
yeah,
Go
it
ahead.
really is true.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to really understand the people that you're trying to meet their needs. Like, what
Yeah.
is it that their pain points are? So,
Yeah. Totally. And I'm so glad you said that. So what's a common mistake we all make that erodes our trust with clients?
um, honestly, I think people that are just willing to get a sale and
Mm,
promising that they can do anything when
right.
it's not not being willing to say no, or not being willing to say that's really not my area of expertise and that's not what I can do for
Mm,
you. I think
mm,
by not level setting on expectations early on, um that's the fastest way to erode trust. Because if somebody's partnering with you thinking that you're going to deliver for them and it's not
right.
something you can do, you're
Right.
either going to have to be stressed out in terms of what you're doing, or you're
Yeah.
just not going to deliver for them, and they
Yeah.
may depending on you for something. And
Exactly.
it's not just the fact that you let them down, like their business could ultimately rely on that.
Right.
So I think setting really clear expectations up front and managing to those expectations. And that's not to say that people, I'm always trying to learn and do new things,
Yeah.
but I will tell my partners, I've never done this before. I think we can collaborate on this, but it's
Yeah.
going to be a journey for both of us. So is that
Yeah.
something you want to take on
Oh,
together? So.
I love it. I really love it. So, how can advisors develop empathy and curiosity to better understand their client needs, especially under pressure time or in
Mm.
high stakes situations?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I don't know if curiosity can be taught. I
Mm,
think if people want to go
that's
into the
true.
world, like if people who are choosing to go down the path of being an advisor, being someone who can help,
Right.
I think you want to go into that with this idea of, there's some people who go into, these types of work and saying, I'm a
Hmm.
subject matter expert.
Hmm.
I bring something very specific to the table, and
Right.
that's what I can do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
there are some people who would say, I love this area. I want to learn more about this
Mm,
area.
mm,
For me to be a successful advisor, I really need to understand you as a client. I need to understand your business because that's how I'm going to help
mm,
you. And I
mm.
think that level of kind of understanding that you have to be curious, you have to ask questions, and you're not asking questions to kind of prove somebody wrong. You're asking questions so that you can understand better.
Understand better.
And it's really hard to understand a person. It's really hard to understand a business
Yeah.
if you don't have just that innate wanting to learn, wanting
Yeah.
to know more, which is,
Yeah.
is kind of definition of curiosity. So
Exactly. I mean, thank you so much for saying that. So here is how I feel like, I'm a leader in the healthcare industry, and I have this passion right now that I'm, having my own podcast, because
yeah,
it's to me, I learn a lot by talking to Aaron, a legendary like you, right? It's kind of like, builds that personality in me that I can do better tomorrow, right? Every day we're learning. So for me, what you said is curiosity is not to be taught. It has to be, it's an inbuilt. But then anybody could step into that zone, open-minded, learn what the business really is before you step in and provide any solution. That is something to
yep,
be like, very, you know, that was a really good one. So I'll take that as a takeaway. I'm curious too,
yeah.
but I do love to work hard.
No, so and that's the balance. I mean, you probably, people talk about this idea. They talk about athletes when they kind of get
Yeah.
in the zone.
Yeah.
So, and you probably felt this, like there's some behavioral psychologists, they call it kind of flow, this idea where
Right. Yeah.
you're working on something that
Yeah.
you love, you're
Yeah.
learning, you're doing, and you
Right.
look at the clock, you're like 6 hours have gone by, and you're like, how did this happen? So those are the situations where it's like when you can find the thing that you care about or that you're interested
Right.
in, it's
Right.
it's much easier to be curious about something that you care about or interested in. And I think we've all experienced that where we've kind of leaned into something. My wife, she jokes because I'll go to a coffee shop on the weekend and work, and then she's
Yeah.
texting me, she's like, "Are you coming home for dinner?" She's like, "You've been gone for 8 hours." And I'm like, "Oh, I
I
was just
didn't
I
know
was
about that.
focusing on something, So yeah,
So you said something which is, recently I had my podcast reel on ikigai. And how do you find your ikigai? Is
hmm
just what you just said. It like, if you're doing something, you forget about the time, forget about everything. You're so passionate to get it done.
yep,
That's your ikigai. So
yes, a
that
hundred
keeps reminding
percent.
me. All right. So what's one habit or practice we have to consistently build and maintain to keep that trust with clients over the long term? Because somebody can win the trust right now, but it's
Mhm.
not a one day thing. You have to be consistent. You have in how you are delivering or how you are approaching with your client, with your business. So how do you keep that for a longer term? What would you say for that?
Yeah. And it's I think everybody works differently,
Yeah.
and it's funny as we get older, I think a lot of us do more self discovery about our personalities, and
Uh,
I've spent a lot of time really kind of understanding my personality type,
yeah.
and like this will circle back, but just to go a little to an aside. So I looked at all the different like the Myers Briggs personality types, everything, and I'm a very, very textbook
Mhm.
Myers-Briggs ENTP. So that's like my personality type.
Yeah.
And what is very typical for that type of a personality type
Mhm.
is you never do the same thing the same way twice. So like and my
Right.
mother,
Yeah.
like since I was a little kid, has said this about me. She's like, Aaron
Yeah.
will get things done,
Yeah.
but he's gonna do it 50 different ways every time he does it. And so that's why I don't necessarily have a system in terms of like how I engage with people. And I can't say, well, I've got this playbook of like when I
Yeah.
work with a client. So
Yeah.
for me, what it comes down to is having those relationships where one,
Yeah.
they really can trust me and I'm adding value in the conversations.
Mhm.
And the things that I just kind of do naturally, but I know it's the things that my clients value is
Mhm.
going the extra mile, like
Yeah.
making the extra introduction. Hey, I
Right.
actually know somebody who's working in a space similar to this. Let me connect you with that person because they can help you. Hey,
Yeah.
have you thought about this? I know this is the one you asked me to do, but I was thinking about your business this way. Maybe you should think about this. And if so, I know somebody who can help you with that.
Oh,
So that comes back to like the way I work. It's
yeah.
let Oh, the other thing about my personality type is lots of ideas. Like, and I get those ideas really fast.
Yeah.
So for me, the way that I continue to earn trust is
Right.
bringing the best of me and what I bring to the table to them.
Mhm. And
So,
is that something that
um,
you can develop, Aaron, or is it an inbuilt?
I think the specific things that I do are probably innate to me.
Innate to
But
you?
the overarching, thing is whatever it is that makes you you,
Yeah.
and how do you bring that to yourself? bring
Yeah.
that to your clients, bring that to your
Right.
customers, because at the end of the day, like, you could try to learn all these other business processes and frameworks, but the
Right.
easiest thing to be is yourself. And if you bring yourself, to your work, to your clients, to your
Yeah.
teams, to your customers,
Right.
um, that's easy, and that's
Yeah.
hopefully what you like to do.
Of
So,
course, right? I mean, it. I'll tell you something about me, right? Um, I'm an immigrant, but I'm a citizen now.
yeah,
But it took me a while to adjust it to how I need to be comfortable in this space. It's
yep,
always trying to fit in
yep,
and always trying to, should I not? Should I
yeah,
not? And not really bringing me whole self to the table.
yeah,
It took me a while, number of years before I could do that. So that
yeah.
is why I really like what you said is like, everybody is unique.
Mhm.
Everybody have their own unique innate skill.
Yep.
Bring you fully as a person. Be you. Don't
Yeah,
copy. Don't worry.
absolutely. And look, I'm self-aware enough to know,
Yeah.
I'm far enough along in my career. I've had the opportunity to have a number of roles where I'm financially secure, so I don't
Yeah.
have a lot of pressures
Yeah.
that other people have. And
Right.
when you're in a situation like that, it affords you the opportunity to
Yeah.
be a little more free with what you do. And I very much acknowledge that. I'm not in any way implying that people should just go crazy within the
Oh,
workplace and just
yeah. Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
But I think understanding who you are, and kind of leaning into that,
Right.
and not being afraid. Here's the other thing, and I will credit, well, Jeff Bezos is the one that I know has talked about this
Oh,
most, but
I
I've
know.
had some other leaders have talked about this. But
Yeah.
it's a business, like he talks about in terms of business decisions, but I think it's very similar in terms of life decisions.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few one-way doors. So Jeff
Mm-hmm.
Bezos famously talks about this concept of like one-way doors and two-way doors. And when you're making a decision, a one-way door is a decision that you go through and you can't come back through.
Yes.
Most
Yeah.
decisions
Yeah.
are two-way doors.
Two
Like
it.
you can come back from that decision,
Yes.
But I think, I mean, what he talks about, and I've seen this in big organizations, I've seen it in small organizations.
Yeah.
So many people spend so much time thinking every decision is a one-way door. So
Mm,
you're either afraid to make a decision, or you spend so much time thinking about it. Like you overthink and then you never move
right.
forward. I
Right.
think people do that. I think
Yeah.
people, as you're talking about
Yeah.
your own kind of
Yeah.
decision making, should I
Exactly.
not? Should I not?
Exactly.
Sometimes you got to say, like, what's the worst thing that happens if I do? If this is what I think is the right thing to do,
Right.
what's the worst thing that happens? And what I've also learned is some people say, well, maybe my boss won't appreciate that. Like, if if you think it's the right thing to do and you think it's who you are and your boss doesn't appreciate that, maybe you have the wrong boss. And
I
again, I
yeah,
know it's
yeah,
not easy for people
yeah,
to just
yeah,
switch jobs, but it is the type of thing to say, well, is this really where I need to be or want to be?
yeah, totally.
So
And I really enjoyed this talk, right? And it it tells me again that you be you, you have the skills, understand who you are, self-discovery, find your ikigai, give that passion a life, move forward.
mhm,
And those are all the things
yes,
coming back to me with all the interviews I've done so far. And I just love it, how the universe is connecting me to those, legendaries who really reminds me back that self-discovery is important. Being confident
100%.
who you are is important, and you are enough. That belief in yourself is so important, and that kind of takes, I'm taking all this, from what we taught. So much of
Yeah.
it back to these things. um
100%. Well, and I'll just say, like, I mean, but I'd imagine, I mean, for you to kind of put yourself out there and do
yeah,
this,
right.
that's a decision,
That's
but
the
you could
decision.
just tell from the look on your face, like, even what you just relayed back,
Yeah.
how worth it was it? I mean, the value that you're getting at from conversations, this idea to help other people,
Right.
have awareness into
Our
this,
listeners.
like,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
so I think it validates exactly what you were just talking about, and I could tell by how happy you are doing this that
Yeah, I am. And I really wanted to prepare the brand, the way I'm going to intro you, but I really wanted to. I mean, I'll be talking again. This clip will
yeah,
will take it away, but then I just
yeah,
want I want to get about you so that people know who you are and what you're doing in
Yeah.
the world. And it is so important because I make a point to read every article that you post.
Oh,
Because
thank you.
you know why? Because that gives me so much of knowledge, and also build a personality and how I need to be applying that in my role wherever I am today, whether it is my podcast or whether it my IT world.
Well, thank you so much.
So
And
I
that's,
really appreciate that.
well, I so appreciate what you just said. And for me, it's been, I've made a decision. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to start doing this. I
Yeah,
said, the number of people who just reached out said, thank you,
yeah,
thank you for not keeping what, I've been on this planet 47 years now, I've been in this, doing this for 25 years and, in
right,
healthcare. I'm
right.
like, thank you for not keeping that,
Yeah, holding it yourself.
contained, like for sharing, like, and
Right.
if more people can benefit from like my learnings, my mistakes, like I made plenty of them. Like if people can learn from what I've learned and they don't have to repeat those things,
Yeah,
I mean, how valuable is that? People
it is.
talk about, I'm in no way trying to talk about legacy, but like this idea of being able to pass things on to other people.
Right.
I mean, that is how you kind of like that is what we leave
Yeah,
behind, So
exactly. Aaron, you do. And thank you for what you're doing there.
thank you.
So the last key question I have is, what would you say to the audience who's listening today? What are the 3 things or even 5 things that you think is important for any individual working in any world to build that trust and become that trusted advisor, or to become that person and
Yeah.
personality to be successful?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know that I have 3. I definitely don't know if I have 5. I think the things that I would say are kind of most important, top of mind for me,
Yeah.
are um, you got to work hard. I
Yeah.
mean, I think like
We'll
putting in
start that.
hard work, and that doesn't mean working 80 hours a week, but that means kind of, I really do mean like giving it your all into the things that you do.
Yeah.
Um, and with that, if you're in a role or you're doing something where you don't feel like you can give it your all,
Yeah.
then that's the time to really take a step back and say, should I be doing this? Do I need to make a change? Like
Mm,
as I mentioned, I made a lot of changes throughout my career, going
right.
from practicing physician to consultant to
Right.
startups to health plan, like, and what I tell people, as I think about how to navigate their careers, how to navigate, doing, being good for their customers, for their teams, for their
Mm-hmm.
clients, as I've made changes throughout my career, I've always weighed a decision about any pivot or thing they're doing across 2
Mm-hmm.
dimensions. I've
Mm,
always said, if the worst case scenario when I pursue this next job is that
mm-hmm.
I'm going to learn a lot
Yeah.
and I'm going to learn more than I'm doing right now. And the
Mm-hmm.
best case scenario is it's my dream job and I become a billionaire by doing this. I've always been comfortable
Yeah.
making the next decision if with the worst case, saying I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
pursue this thing. And if all that comes out of it is that I'm going to learn a lot, I'm
Mm-hmm.
good with that. Which
Wow.
is why, as I've chosen different things throughout my career and I've pursued
Yeah.
different opportunities, I've
Right.
always gone into it with a learning mindset. Like, do I think I'm going to learn a lot and gain new experience and understanding,
Mm,
additional empathy, in that new role?
yeah.
And that's really guided me throughout my career. And I,
Okay.
I think that's something that if I were to pass anything along to people, I think people feel so, obviously you're a super motivated, type A person who wants to be successful and it's just do the best they can,
Yeah.
and which is amazing. And I like I
Thank you.
love being around people with energy like you have.
Thank
I
you.
think so many people feel like they have to do that by
Yeah.
just climbing within the same organization.
Not
I
necessary. Yeah.
I don't, yeah, and I'm not saying you do that, but like
Right.
I the more people can understand there's
Yeah.
paths to professional fulfillment
Right.
beyond just having to get that next promotion and move up and up and up. That's what I would encourage people to really think about.
Love it. I really love it. And that I will take away too, because not that I look for promote, but I
Yeah,
do look for being, end of the day, when you're done with the work, don't carry that stress out. And how do you just get it out? And how do you
Yeah.
keep yourself motivated and bring that energy back fully 100% tomorrow morning? That's the work that I like. That's the
Absolutely.
work that I do, which makes me feel so good. And it was so wonderful talking to you, Aaron. And I'm so
Likewise.
thankful and privileged and blessed to have you on my podcast today. And
Oh,
thank
a
you.
pleasure was mine. So thank you for the invitation. And I'm eager to see this, and hopefully
Yeah.
people will find it valuable. So
Absolutely, I do, and I'm sure the audience will. And with that, we'll take, hopefully we'll meet again. We'll have a different
yeah,
conversation, but this was awesome, and thank you so much for your time today.
my pleasure.
I will